Good morning, beautiful, beautiful folks. It is coming up on the 12 days of Christmas, or is it 12 days of Christmas already, James?
It is, my good man.
12 days of Christmas, and I have a quote card.
Hit me with it.
This is your 12 days of Christmas quote card.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes along with James and I were having a conversation before the podcast started, and it's about something we've brought up before is, we would be killer number twos in other businesses. However, with that thought in mind, how bad do you want the road or journey that you're currently on? How bad do you actually want what you're in? Because every entrepreneur knows that feeling of not necessarily doubt, but the feeling of like, man, I could do this until the day I die, and I don't know where the journey ends, but I've got a pretty good damn feeling that it's going to turn out really, really good. On the alternative to that, there's always that drunk monkey on your shoulder telling you like, hey man, but you could be doing this. Okay. So I want to say that to say the quote card. And it starts off like this. Life is a grindstone, and whether it grinds a man down or polishes him up depends on the stuff he's made of. Josh Billings.
It's really good. Yeah, so that's awesome. So, we were talking about making decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But you just said that about like, how did you phrase it? I mean, basically just being stuck or, wanting to make a good decision. Like, winners always self-evaluate. Winners always question when nobody else is around and it's them. I don't know anyone that is highly successful. They have confidence in themselves, but it doesn't mean they're not constantly auditing and evaluating their performance, how they could do it better, how they can win more. Like, that's what they do. That's what you do. And I think that's very, very natural to do that. I would be worried if somebody, that was trying to get somewhere or build something didn't do that. Yeah. Like, that's trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching something. Actually, it's a guilty pleasure, very guilty pleasure. Danny and I watch Ink Masters.
Okay.
Dude, we've loved that show forever. I mean, we've watched every season of it. And so anyways, it's on Paramount Plus now, and we were watching an episode of it. And this guy, and I talk like an expert, the guy with no tattoos. I talk, I'm like sitting there going, oh my gosh, why'd he do that? Right. Like, I know what the hell I'm talking about. But anyways, these people are amazing artists, and it's just, I don't know, it's cool. We just always enjoyed the show. So anyway, what's the point? This guy, last night in the competition, they had to do a 24-hour back piece. And then they're standing up there in front of the judges, and one of the guys pops up. And I mean, it is like mind-blowing how somebody could literally take ink and put it into skin and make what this guy made. I mean, it's unbelievable. There's a ton of talent. There's a ton of hard work into that. And mind you, did a 24-hour tattoo over 2 days, 2 12-hour sessions. I can't even sign my Christmas cards without my hand getting tired. You know what I mean? Like, just unreal. So they were just like, oh my God, this thing's amazing. And they looked at him and they said, what's wrong? They said, you're seeing all the things you don't like, aren't you? And he's like, yep, I'm seeing all the stuff. I wish I would have just maybe tweaked this or done that. And it's other very well-established artists that asked him that are judging him, and they didn't question that a bit. They already knew what he was doing, right? Like, because he's trying to make it better. He wants to be the best, and he wants to win. And, it's healthy. That's really, really healthy. Like, but going back and to being decisive, a quote I've always liked is, there's 2 ways to get to the top of an oak tree: sit on an acorn and wait, or start climbing. And man, I've always loved that. Like, so like make a decision, take action. And that decision could be that you just don't know the decision. Like Addison and I were just talking about, one of my tactics that I do, if I'm stuck on something, I'm really just indecisive and I won't commit, I'm not committing the energy to make a decision, or I just don't know, I feel like I need more time, I'll go out and I'll circle a day on the calendar. And I'm just going to say, hey, between now and then, I'm just going to go hard on whatever the problem is. Like, should I keep going down the street? I'm not even going to think about that. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to put in the work. And at that day, I'm going to lift my head up and totally reevaluate it and see if I still feel the same. And if I do, I'm making a change, so it keeps me from doing something knee jerk that maybe I shouldn't do.
Yeah. Yeah, which is really good. I mean, it's a really good concept of being able to allow yourself to sit on the decision before you make the decision, right? And it gives you time to ponder. It gives you time to think about what alternatives are available, and then also to figure out how bad you actually want the thing that you're currently looking at, right? But I think overall, I mean, that is a solid foundation to being a high achiever, is being able to evaluate the things that you being able to evaluate yourself, that's I don't know a high achiever that doesn't, right? There's not a single thing that I do in my life that I don't feel like I could do better at, right? Like
Yeah.
for an easy example, cooking steaks for a group of people, right? I could cook every single steak absolutely perfect, and while people are eating, I could sit there and say, "Man, I wish I would have cooked that one just a little bit better."
Yeah. A little more salt.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Like,
Yeah.
and it's it can become something that you do every single day without even realizing it, that you're like, no one's opinion matters higher than mine
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, is I guess what I'm trying to get to. And it's my opinion that um, that self criticizing obviously can get out of hand, right? For a lot of people.
Yeah.
However, there's something to that is that little bit of extra spice for high achievers. For people like, you look at David Goggins, for example, because we're both listening to that book.
Jeez.
Bro, that man is the most self-critical person that I can even come up with.
Yeah.
And look at the amount of things that he has achieved just based off of being the most self-critical person. So, cool things, man. Cool things.
Yeah. So, absolutely. My opinion of myself matters to me more than anybody else's opinion of me. Right.
Mhm.
Like that should always be number one. What do you think of yourself? And it's always obvious to me. And that's the thing, is you get better the way you look at stuff and how words like hurt your ears, kind of almost,
Mhm.
like, especially if you like give somebody a compliment and they immediately degrade themselves,
Yeah.
and just even simple things. Like, so I got that, like easy things like that truck I got.
Mhm.
I get a lot of compliments on that truck, especially if I'm like, I'm over at Home Depot or something, man. I'm coming back out. He's like, man, that's a sweet truck. You know what I almost always say? Appreciate it, man. It needs a bath. Because it's like my truck is always dirty. I never
Right.
like detail it like I should. So, like, why do I always do that? When I say thanks, appreciate it, man, I worked hard for it, or man, this is, I remember like when the first day I got, or something, like have something, or compliment their vehicle back or something like that. And sometimes I do compliment their vehicle back, but instead of me like, thanks, man, needs a bath. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Well,
you know what I mean? Like things like that. Or, a wife walks in, we're about to go on a date. I'm like, damn, girl, you smoking. And she says, oh, I feel fat tonight. What do you mean? It was freaking great. Like those kind of things. Like I think I've told the story about the lady I used to work with at this one office, and she'd work all day and she'd say, "Oh my God, I'm so stupid." Like she'd say it as she's working. Every time, like maybe she misspelled a word or something while she's typing or anything, or like, "Hey, who's this? Oh my God, that's mine." She would say, "I'm stupid," or "I'm retarded." That was the two words she used about herself all day long. Let me tell you something. It was no time. Everybody in that office thought she was stupid. And mainly probably her, because literally she told herself that all freaking day.
So there is something to that. When I was on my, empathy journey, learning a little bit more about myself and certain things that I do. You, for example, you say I need, the truck needs a bath or whatever, right? So you're not really accepting the compliment. You're more so pushing it off to something else, which is also, I forget the way that they worded it, but it's a way to seem humble, but also lacking confidence. For me, my example to this would be, hey man, somebody says, "Man, I like that shirt." I say, "Man, I like your shirt too," right? So just a flip flop.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way of actually not accepting the compliment because of either self doubt. You don't want to seem arrogant, confident, whatever it may be, and you want to seem humble. In other words, right? Which which makes you actually think about that, right? I've never been able to actually accept a compliment, which actually comes from, obviously your parents or a need for other things. But it's super interesting being able to say, "You know what, thank you," and then not saying a single thing back. The book that I was reading was damn, I don't remember. Either way, I'll put it in the show notes there. But it's one of the books that was eye opening to me on actually being able to understand the things that you do on a regular basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it does come to compliments, when it does come to everything that you do in life is to seek a need for something else. Everything you do. And so when you do that, you're seeking a need for something and then being
Yeah.
able to actually address that, which is it's different, man. It's a different mindset to be able to think about those things.
Well, I will say one thing I've really worked to try to change. I am changing is instead of saying, "Well, I'm not good at that." Now I'm changing that to, I need, I, I need to get better at that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to tell myself, I'm horrible with names. I'm horrible with names, right? You've heard a million people say that. You probably said that about yourself. Like, I'm not the best with that. I need to get better at it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, instead of saying you're horrible, you're literally telling yourself, "Hey, it's okay." Even though you talk about it as an issue, you've literally told yourself, "Hey, it just is the way it is. Nothing's going to change it."
Acceptance of an
Like that's
excuse.
yeah. But the compliment thing, I will say, if you ever notice, pay attention, you will notice women are much better at that.
Mm-hmm.
Women are much, much better at that with one another. Like you're in a grocery store trying to check out, and you let two women be in front of you in line, and one woman turns around and says, "Oh my gosh, I love that purse," or "I like those shoes." They'll actually create a conversation. They'll create a connection by it. "Oh, thank you. I got these at such and such. Man, they were great. They got a ton of them over there," right? Like they become helpful with that, right?
Yeah.
Women are much better at that with one another than probably what a lot of men are. So there's a lot to take away from that. They take the compliment and then they like give back on it. They try to reciprocate in some way. And it's not just maybe even complimenting, but saying, "Hey, oh my gosh, yeah, I got them here. I got this," or "Man, they're running this deal," or "Yeah, you can get it here," whatever. Right? Like that's powerful too. Don't forget that.
And it is. And it is. Um, it's a it's a different way of looking at the way that you do things, right? Being able to
Mhm.
self analyze yourself, even with the small details.
Yeah.
even with the small details, the things that you do on a regular basis, that a lot of people just don't pay attention to. Like
Mhm.
they just don't, because they don't see the importance in it. Um, and you will never look at it um, unless something entices you to read something that makes you look at those features about yourself, um, or it becomes too painful not to look at them.
Yeah.
Which
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever like had the day where you're just top of the world? You feel great about yourself. You feel great about what you're doing. You woke up feeling great. You're going about the day. You're dressed sharp. You walk into whatever you're doing, a closing, whatever. And when you walk in, it's like a presence around you. You make perfect eye contact. You got the perfect smile. You're as confident as you can be. You feel good. And like you just own it. Right. Like you are the man. I mean, it's BDE all the way,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So, and like where you're even making contact and talking to somebody and they're breaking eye contact because it's like, I mean, but you're there, man. You're just lasered in all day. Like that's the way it should be. That's the way we should all work to be. And if you think you lack some self-confidence or how you go about things, here's an easy test. I will tell you because I've done it many times and I feel stupid every time I do it. Go in the bathroom, look in the mirror, and do your pitch or introduce yourself to yourself in the mirror. Watch how much you break eye contact. Watch how much you look down. Watch how uncomfortable you get in a room with no one else but your reflection in the mirror. It's crazy. And if you can get good at that, you can go up and talk to anybody about anything and like maybe the confident and 100% there, but it'll get there quickly because of what you're doing. You know?
Yep.
Well, you're not healthy because you decided today to quit eating fucking cheeseburgers and milkshakes and go for a walk and eat a salad. That doesn't make you healthy. But what it may do is make you feel good enough where you wake up the next day and do it again. And then the next day and do it again. And then it becomes a habit. And then you actually do get healthy. Right?
Yep.
Same thing with your confidence. Evaluate, get better, but you got to build that. You know, and the more confident you are, I know we're bouncing around, but then the better decisions you're going to make too. You're going to feel more confident in your ability to make good decisions and what's right. And when you are questioning yourself and when you do feel alone on that little island by yourself, you have reassurance of how you got out of it before, how you've gotten somewhere else, how you've done better, and you can do it again.
That's right. That's right. At the end of the day, a lot of it does come down to being able to do those things, right? Being able to see yourself as you are, understanding your pitfalls and not giving yourself excuses for those pitfalls, right? Learning to get better. The growth, there's a lot of people that say like the purpose of life is to, for happiness, or it's the pursuit of this, or it's the pursuit of that. And a lot of those things, I don't think that's it, right? I don't think that life is about all of those things. I think life is what it is, and it's your mentality and your picture of the world is what matters, right? If you see life as an open book, and you get today, and today is the day that you're going to come at it,
Mm-hmm.
and you see that as day one, week one kind of mentality. I think that's what was in the book. You come at it like that. That's the purpose of life, right? That is the purpose: to do good, to be good to people, to be the best version of yourself, which all entails everything that I just said.
Yeah.
Right. For you to be the best version of yourself, you must do those things.
Yeah.
And when you start lacking off on those things, right, giving yourself the excuses, putting things on your task list for the day and then moving them to the next day because you ran out of time, bro, that's not the best version of yourself. The best version of yourself is completing what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
And then doing all those other good things. So
Yeah. I agree completely. Well, so why are we on this subject? The reason we're on this subject is because it's an interesting time right now. Like, especially for Addison and myself, and I'm sure many others that are listening to this, it's like the party's kind of over in a sense. Like it was this great time, it was this celebration, and now you're going to bed and you're realizing, well, that day's over. Tomorrow it's back at it. Addison's coming off probably the hottest market you've ever been involved in your career, correct?
correct.
And like it's been fun and it's been wild and it's been great and exhilarating and exhausting and all that. But it's like, okay, people who are building businesses or building their future and staying focused on it, the end of the year represents something. Hey, the goals have been achieved, but like, the year starts over in a couple of weeks, and I got to have a plan and I got to execute again because I want to win. And like, so it's kind of like, it makes you kind of think about everything you could have done better or done differently. Right. It's that steak and you're sitting there eating it, man, that needs more salt. Like you're looking back, but you can't change that. And so like, I'm going with that, man. We did this big merger this year and it's exciting and it's exhilarating. And right now I'm freaking tired. And like, I got to get ready for 2023. And like, I'm behind on getting ready for 2023. Frankly, I should already be executing on goals I've set for 2023 and I haven't yet. So like it makes you doubt and it makes you question and it makes you tired and all these different feelings, scared, whatever, right? Just worried or just stressed or like, fuck, is this what I want right now? It does all that stuff to you. One of the, you talked about David Goggins. One of the things I absolutely respect the most about David Goggins is when he tells a story or he's joking, he's on a podcast or whatever, and he talks about sitting on the bed staring at his shoes.
Mm-hmm.
The top tier, one of the best out there when it comes to just discipline mentality and being a man of purpose and looks for the things that will challenge him, he still sits on the end of the bed, stares at those shoes, and has to convince himself to go do it. The best of the best. So what makes you think you're not going to have to do that?
Yep.
What makes you think that you get a pass on that? You don't get a pass on it. You just choose to not make the decision. You choose not to go the next step. That is it. You do not get a pass. You forfeit your opportunity, and then you get to the end of the year and you look back and think about the things you could have done that could have made a difference. And it's too fucking late. You didn't lace them up, man. So like, that's the thing, being the man or woman of purpose. And no matter if you got to sit there 30 more minutes and stare at it or whatever it takes, you still have to confront it if you want to get where you want to go.
That's it. That's it.
All right, man, it's been fun.
It has been. This is a good one. I think a lot of people will get a lot of benefit out of this. If you do see the benefit of sharing this with somebody else, whether you've got an employee that just is on the come up and they just need a little bit of motivation. If you know that person that maybe you want to send this to and just kind of see where they're at, this is a perfect podcast to do that for, because this is going to set the tone for the things that come down the road. If you have somebody that you work with that you're like, hey, they might be able to see some benefit out of this, send it to them. All of these things are what helps us grow on this podcast. The amount of growth that we've had over the years has been awesome. And it's 100% thanks to you guys. It's absolutely cool to see. It's cool to see that people are getting after it, listening to the grinder and what do they say? Getting on the grindstone.
Getting on the grindstone. That's right.
And so, guys, we appreciate you. We appreciate every single time that you turn us on and listen and actually get some benefit out of what we're saying, because In all actuality, like we started this podcast, we weren't really sure what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we were cool with it being just James and I talking to ourselves and just shooting the shit for the week. But it has turned into something really cool. So with all that being said, thank you. Do not forget to check out our sponsors, Jocko Fuel and Origin USA. At the checkout, put in the code GRIND10, GRIND10, and get you some nice, cool stuff for 10% off, especially during this holiday season.
Hey, with that, one last thing, if you get a chance, if you're big on like when you're at work or whatever you do, you like to listen to stuff through YouTube. Addison's been doing a great job putting up a lot of our podcast on the YouTube channel. So like, check that out. I was actually scrolling through it yesterday. I don't do a lot on, I'm not on YouTube a lot. And man, we got some great stuff on there, and you get to see our ugly mugs. So don't hold that against us. My ugly mug, Addison's beautiful.
Well, thank you, James. I did
Look at
forget
that.
to
Actually,
upload.
I just did an entire podcast about, you get to see our beautiful fucking faces. And then the ugly mug, there's somebody out there that loves it. I can promise you that.
That's it.
All right. Hey, appreciate y'all. And thanks for all the support. Grinder out.
Yep.